So, welcome to Satsang. As you know, if you have any questions, you're welcome to post them by just speaking a question or by writing your question in the chat box. So at every moment in your life, you have an option that is available to you, which is the option to be the personal self, to be the person, meaning to be identified by your thoughts, and to believe your thoughts and rely on the thoughts that arise and on the feeling that arise to guide you, which is the bumpy path. One moment. Shiva says he has no sound. Let me see, because sometimes that happens. Let me see if I go here. I go to sound. Shiva, the sound is good on my end. How about others? Everybody else is hearing me?
I hear you fine, Magdi.
Okay, so Shiva, I suspect there is some issue on your end. I'm not sure what it is. So the direction, the choice to be a person, to live as an identity, as a man, as a woman, is the bumpy path, is the path that basically spins you, keeps spinning you into the thoughts and the emotions. And the other option that's available for you is the contemplation of the self, the contemplation of truth. Meaning to be looking at what it is that is real in my experience. To contemplate what is the reality of my experience. What is it that is absolutely real? What is it that is absolute? And to contemplate that question, to keep that question alive, because that question blooms, opens the shadows, dissolves the shadows, and opens a path to the bliss of the self. That choice is available to you every moment, but it's important that you recognize it. So one could say that in ignorance, we have that choice, but we don't recognize it. And when we are truth lovers, we recognize that choice and we make the right choice, hopefully. There is no third choice. Sometimes there are some people that say, well, there is no choice. Everything is happening as it is. There is no choice. But that is not true. You have a choice. When you have a choice, you have a choice. When you don't have a choice, you are in ignorance. You believe there is no choice. And as a result, you make such statements. Okay, Shiva. So there is a choice, and you need to recognize that you have a choice. That whenever you're going into your thoughts and your stories and your emotions and him and her and this and that and yesterday and tomorrow, you are making the choice to be in the mind, to be the personal self. And what this implies is you are not making the choice of being silent, of being still, of turning your attention towards being. And so the default mode of the conditioned mind is what you are living. The mind is not interested in truth. It is only interested in maintaining its energetics, in maintaining its movement, in maintaining itself, meaning in maintaining the I thought and the world. And the relationship, the mental relationship, the mind, so-called relationship between the I, the personal self, I, the illusory self, and the imagined world, the projected world. That is the only interest of the mind. There is no other interest of the mind. The mind is not interested in awakening. It's interested in the concept of awakening. It's interested in the thoughts and stories and debates and mental images about awakening. But it's not interested in awakening, because awakening refers to the end of the impression of a separate self and the end of the mind. So we live in ignorance. When we are in ignorance, we live interested in our family, in our relationships, in our money, in our health. We're interested in our vacations. We're interested in our retirement. We're interested in the mind. We're interested in the senses, and we're interested in mentation. So we're interested in feelings. We're fascinated by feelings, sensations, and thoughts, which is just an orbit. It is not piercing through the veils of ignorance. It has nothing to do with piercing through the veils. So one day you feel good, the next day you feel bad. You're hopeful, and then you're disappointed. And then you hope again, and you're disappointed again. You're depressed today. Tomorrow you're a little bit happy. The day after you're a little happier than one after that. You're deeply depressed again. The day after you're feeling lonely, then you're feeling better. The roller coaster ride. And today you're 40, tomorrow you're 50, the day after you're 60. The day after that, you're watching the body breathe its last breath, and the self is not revealed to you. All you're experiencing is the sorrow about leaving your loved ones, because you are confusing love with loved ones. So if there are any questions, there is a question from Gabby that I would go through, but if there are any questions.
Magdi?
Yes, Zoe.
I had a strong Vasana come up the other day, and I wondered if you could just speak a little bit. I mean, it was something I thought I had dealt with, and really, I'm looking at it, it's like vengeance, and it was, felt very strong in the body, and like we talked about last satsang, that being lured by that. Anyway, I would appreciate some clarity on that.
I assume you don't want to talk about the particular vasana, or you do?
I don't mind
Okay.
whatever will help me, break through it. It's having to do with my my two sisters and feeling betrayed, and and I thought I really thought I had dealt with it, and apparently not, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe it was being stirred up.
Okay. Okay. You can be assured that it's just a matter of time and circumstances for you to be betrayed by your sisters, by your friends, by your partners, by your boss. You can guarantee that's a guaranteed. That's a you can count on that. You can take that to the bank.
Yeah.
So expecting that a mind, that there is such a thing as a non-betraying mind, is like expecting that for the rain not to fall or for gravity not to be. It's you can rest assured that the mind will betray. That's guaranteed. So your expectations for your sisters, for which is the mind, the human mind, which we call my sister, not to betray you is not the correct expectation. It's like expecting for the water not to freeze at 30, not to be frozen at 30 or 20 degrees. It's not possible. It is bound to happen. It's just a matter of when and where, It just so happens that you've experienced betrayals from your sisters now or recently, whatever. I don't know the details. And it's just, okay, so some other people will experience betrayal from their partner or from their boss or from their coworkers, maybe tomorrow or maybe in 20 years. Or so the vasana has to do with your believing that it should be otherwise. You can count on gravity. You can count on that. It's going to be there. But what you would be wiser to be interested in is that does not betray. So the human mind is constantly changing. It's perceiving from a certain conditioned place. First, it arises as a me, as the I thought. And then it's perceiving via the senses and via the conceptual and via the mental. And the conceptual and the mental and the senses are constantly changing. The data is constantly changing. So the relationship is constantly changing. It covers the entire spectrum of, feeling moments of peace to feeling, complete alienation. It covers the entire spectrum of feeling great bond and great connection to feeling extreme hatred and behaviors of extreme violence. It covers the entire spectrum. You can see that by turning the TV on, watching the news, right? I mean, doesn't matter what station you turn, you're going to see that, right?
Yeah, I don't watch TV.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
neither do I, but we know.
Yeah.
So to be expecting for that dynamic to be anything else is betting on the wrong horse.
Oh.
What is it that is not subject to conditions, that is not subject to the senses, that is not subject to thought, that is not subject to feelings? So you turn your attention to that question. You bring that question into your contemplation. What is it that is not subject to conditions? What is it that is always reliable? Obviously, it's not the mind. It's obviously not your sister, how she feels or how she thinks. Or today she's blaming you. Next day she's blaming, your cousin. Next day she's feeling guilty. The day after she say, "What are you talking about? It's your grandmother." What? You can't rely on that to be reliable, right?
Right.
So what is it in your experience that you can count on that is reliable, always 100%, 100% isness, 100% true, 100% real, 100% unwavering? It's not thought.
Yeah.
It's not feeling. It's not the oak tree, because the oak tree in 2 years, maybe there is a big storm and that oak tree is gone. It's not your partner, because your partner is really beautiful and loves you. Now, next day, God knows what happened. It falls on his or her head, and they wake up. They love their turtle more than they love you. They don't want to talk to you anymore. They just want to be with their turtle.
Love that.
So that's what you really need to look at. So it's not a matter of trying to bring some order in your relationship with your sisters, but it's bringing an order within yourself, bringing clarity within yourself as to what is it that is really real, and what is it that is just the surface of the ocean. It makes no sense for you to love your sisters. It makes no sense for you to love the mind. The only thing that you can love is love itself.
Wow. Yeah.
And you cannot have faith in your sister or your father or mother or brother or sister, cousin. You cannot have faith in that. Only place your faith only to that reserves it. No, it's not a human being of any form. You place the faith into the truth, into what is true. That's what you bet on. You bet on what is true, what is absolutely true. You have to recognize that. What is it that is true in your experience in this very moment?
I am.
The stillness, the silence, before a word is uttered, before it's named stillness or named silence. Go to that. Go to the transparency, the source. that has no name, the reality that perceives, the reality that is. In this moment, what is it that is? Take the question within, take the question, keep the question suspended, allow it, keep it alive, keep it vibrant. What am I truly? What is the reality of my experience in this moment? What is it that is absolute? It's invisible, but it is. It's absolute beyond any doubt. It is. What is it that is beyond any doubt in your experience that's right now? You are that. You are that wordless, formless, infinite, invisible reality, self, being, awareness, Brahman. Before the thought, before the mind, before time and space, before your sister, before the image. There's no image, no me image, no you image in that. That is not in the realm of images. Images are infinite. But that is real is not an image. Images are many, many, many. All sorts of shapes and colors and forms and sounds and feelings and vibrations. But that you can bank on, that is absolute reliability, is not an image, is not a form, doesn't have a shape or a size. It's not in the phenomenal realm, it's non-phenomenal. Has no age, no borders, it's not born, it does not die. It's not about your sisters and feeling disappointed by your sisters, or that they're unreliable or they're reliable. They're reliable today, they're unreliable tomorrow. Goodness, they could be very reliable, and then 3 weeks from now, something happened to the stock market, or something happened in their home or in their village, and their reliability completely shifts. Boom. Where would that leave you? The self isn't affected. The reliability of the mind, that's a joke. It's a joke. It's like expecting the zebra not to have the zebra skin, You can't. Zebra has this, what is it? White with black streaks or something like that.
Yeah.
That's how it is in the zebra world. That's what the zebra is. But it's different from a giraffe, A giraffe is different than the crocodile. It has a crocodile skin and a big mouth. And you can't expect that to be absolute, or to be... You can definitely expect the mind to be unreliable. That you can bet on. Yes. Unreliable? Yes. Good. Okay. Yeah, my sister is unreliable. Great. Yeah. Okay. Good. Right. Okay. What else? Next.
Okay.
Your sister is unreliable. Oh yeah. Okay. Next. My cousin unreliable. Okay. My cousin. Okay. Next. The whole body mind stream of unreliable, check, unreliable, check, unreliable, check, unreliable, check. So, yes, so you recognize that. But what matters is not that you recognize that the mind is unreliable, but that you realize what you truly are. the reality of the self that defies the mind. The mind is not even a candle in front of the sun. It's not even that. Yeah? It is not. The mind is just movement, shapes and sounds, names, shapes, forms and sounds, like the clouds. The mind is like the clouds. You look up in the sky, there are clouds of different shapes and sizes and forms and colors. But the clouds are not the wide open sky of being. Thoughts are not what defines you. The clouds do not define the sky. When you want to look at the sky, you don't look at the clouds and say, oh, here is a sky that looks like a turtle, or here's a sky that looks like a dragon. No, you look beyond the clouds, right? Mm. So when you're looking at what is true, what is real, you don't look at the mind, you don't look at people's behavior, because people's behavior is mind. Right?
Yes. Yes.
So that you won't be disappointed, because you're placing your expectations of reliability and of dependability onto the mind, which is not reliable and not dependable, right?
Yeah.
So let them be. Don't expect them to be otherwise. That would be expecting gravity to reverse itself. Of course, having said that, your heart is open for the human mind to come and rest into the heart. So the invitation is always available for the mind to settle, to rest in the contemplation of the self, for the mind to turn around, and rather than looking out at what is perceived via the senses and via the feelings and via the mind, the mental and the conceptual. The invitation is there for the mind to rest into being. But what matters is your own contemplation. You cannot do the contemplation for your sisters, right?
Right. No. And Magdi, it's just this intensity that came up. I just sit with it. Stop everything. That's
right.
Yeah.
The intensity of the emotion is commensurate with the intensity of your ignorance, meaning of your expectation.
Wow. Yeah, for sure.
So yes, when vasana arises, it arises as a feeling, as an emotion. You use the word intensity. It arises that way. And in that case, you don't want to argue with the emotion. You don't want to think, oh, well, wait a minute, I, Zoe, the person, will be better off without this emotion. Because as soon as you are I, Zoe, the person, you're in La La Land. And you're trying to feel better. But as long as you are Zoe, the person, you'll feel better today, you'll feel worse tomorrow. So rather than being I, Zoe, the person, wanting to feel better and trying to do something to fix the emotion, you completely surrender. You completely you go to your you dissolve in that. You invite yourself to completely Be that. You don't need to call it emotion or anything. To be what is, because what is not outside of you. It's not out there.
Right.
And you want to separate yourself from what you don't like. But it's impossible. You cannot separate yourself. There is no such thing as separating yourself.
Yeah.
It's mental. You try to separate yourself. It's a joke. So you be completely what is. You say, okay, what is it to just completely be what is? We don't know. You don't know. You say, okay, I'm open to being completely what is. And you're not being completely what is in order to feel better, right?
Right. Yeah.
You're simply being completely what is, because what is.
Yes.
And I am that. You invite yourself to die completely to what is. Mm-hmm. So you're not holding back, right? You're not holding back.
No. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Completely. Okay.
Yeah. I
Cool.
just laid there, most of the night.
Right. I
With,
can.
and it was like energy was releasing and releasing, and I wasn't even really tired the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it still feels like there's more to come up.
Right. Energetics. It's really interesting because usually when there are energetics, there is a little part of us that's still holding back.
Yes. Yes.
And it's okay. It's just to sort of notice that.
Okay.
It's okay. It's that all right. It's like a little, as if there is some personal hope.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But in fact, there is no person. You
No.
see, personal hope is about an imaginary person. I imagine myself to be this and that and that. They're images of me, Magdi, images, right? It's an imagination.
Yes.
Because my experience is not an imagination. There is a reality to awareness, and that is not imagination. We call it awareness, but you don't have to call it anything. There is a reality, whatever it is. We call it awareness, or the self, or I. That is not imagination. That is not an image. Image is downstream from the source. Downstream meaning it's not what the source is. But I don't mean downstream in that it is apart from the source. It's not apart from the source. There is nothing apart from the source. But the source is not an image. The image belongs to the source, but the source does not belong to the image. So there is sort of a subordinate relationship between what is perceived and the reality. Yeah, there is a subordinate relationship between your night dreams and the dreamer. You, the dreamer, is what is real. Mm. And your night dreams appear out of you. They're conceived by you, appear out of you, witnessed by you. But they don't define you. The pink flying elephant that appears in your night dream does not define you. The thought that appears in your night dream saying, oh, you are this and that, does not know you. So there is a subordinate relationship. You are the knowingness of the thought. The thought does not know you. So when a certain vasana arises, it's an emotion. Yeah, it's a sensation, emotion. So we remain as we are, meaning we remain as awareness, as the stillness, as the silence, as the restful beingness, as the aware presence. We are that. I am that. And whatever is on the screen, if it's purple or blood purple or blood red, that's fine. We can do that. Yes, we can do that, right? We can do blood red. We can do pastel blue. We can do blood red, right?
Yeah.
So we say yes to both, to the pastel and to the blood red. But knowingly, I am not the images on the screen. Now, don't confuse the piece of the self with a feeling.
Ah, okay.
Okay, Zoe?
Yes, thank you, Magdi.
Okay, thank you for your question, Zoe. Thank you, Habibti. Osvaldo, I just got your question. I'm going to read your question, then I'm going to go to Gabby's question. Osvaldo, you're right. Oh, they're connected questions to Gabby's question. I'm going to answer then both questions. Osvaldo asks, experience is appearance, correct? So Osvaldo, we're going to wait for your question. I'm going to read Gabby's question, and I believe that I will be answering both questions, both your question and Gabby's question in one. So, Gabby, you wrote, Magdi, isn't the very nature of the dualistic mind that creates what is referred to as existence? A bird, a tree, sunset, etc. Just asking, because I'm not really sure. If existence was truly seen in a non-dualistic way, what would it look like? Would everything be seen as one field of light energy, of vibrations, something we cannot comprehend? Question mark. And Osvaldo, your question was, experience is appearance, correct? Question mark, correct. So, experience or what would experience be without an experiencer, without someone or somebody experiencing? So one could, in looking at this question, realize that an experience is composed of three components. What is experienced? The experiencer that is experiencing what is experienced, and the experience itself. Now, when you look in your direct experience, without thinking, in other words, without relying on the past, just relying on just pure awareness right now, the experienced, one could say that the experienced, for example, is the image. There is an image, a perception, there is an image. And the experiencer is I. I am the experiencer of the image. I am the experiencer of the what is experienced. And I am experiencing the experience. When you look at those components and you ask yourself, are there actually two or three parts in my actual experience this moment? Not by thinking, but in just looking directly. Are there any parts? You will find that there are no parts. There is actually silence. And in the experience itself, at the heart of the experience, the entire experience is permeated with silence. Then thought arises and says, for example, oh, I experienced this experience and I really like it, or I don't like it, or that was a great experience, or I should hold on to this experience, etc. Whatever thought arises to have a commentary about the silence. So the experience is complete silence, and the commentary tries to appropriate the silence and turn it into some sort of dialogue or monologue. In other words, in the actuality of experience, there is no separation between the experienced and the experiencer and the experience itself. They're all one. And since what is happening, the reality, is experience, you could say it's experience, and it's one, there are no parts to it, then what is it that is talking about an experience? Let me put it another way. If reality is one, what would stand apart from this reality to speak about it, or to ask a question about it, or to look at it? It's an interesting question, because we cannot deny that on some level there is a question and an answer being contemplated on a certain level, on the mental level, on the dream level. But in fact, there is no one asking a question and no one answering the question. I know it sounds a little crazy to hear that, because at the mind level, it's very obvious that there is somebody asking a question and somebody answering the question. But at the reality level, there isn't a separate experiencer and a separate experienced and a separate experiencing. They're one. Our experience is that of complete stillness and silence, or oneness or wholeness. So coming to your question about experience, is appearance correct? It depends how you look at experience, at the term experience. The way I spoke about experience right now, if you're looking at the reality of experience, then there is no appearance. There's just experience is silence, is stillness. But if you're looking from a conceptual point of view, then you could say that experience refers to an experiencer, separate experiencer, and a separate object that the subject is experiencing. That is at the relative level, at the illusory level, at the impression level, at the mind level. But we're not that much interested in the mind level, because we're interested in truth. We're interested in reality. We're not interested in concepts about somebody observing something else. That is mind. In your direct experience, the reality of your experience, there are not two. Your experience is non-dual. So the invitation is for you to come to that understanding, to come to that contemplation, that the reality of your experience has no separate anything in it. There is no separation. Contemplate that. Look at that again and see if something within this resonates. Gabby, I'm going to read your question again. Isn't the very nature of the dualistic mind that it creates existence? A bird, a tree, a sunset. And what is existence from the non-dualistic point of view? So, Gabby, when we look at the question of existence, commonly, we refer to existence as my existence, meaning that I manifested. By the way, just so you know, existence refers to an arising. The word itself, existence, the etymology of the word, is to arise out of, to stand out of, to stand out. Thank you, Hariti. Oh yes, Osvaldo. Yes, total silence. Yeah. Thank you, Osvaldo. So existence refers to standing out of. So in our common understanding about existence, or how we feel about it, is that I exist, meaning I am a form that rose out of or stood out of the source, out of consciousness. And as I stood out of consciousness, the world, the body, the mind stood out as well. So there is the birth of the body, the arising, the standing out of, the body standing out of, the I thought, the me, arising out of consciousness as a person, as a sensory person with the five senses and the gender, and the mental realm also, and the conceptual realm also stood out, rose out of consciousness. So, thank you, Abdi. I'll come to that. I'll read your note in a moment, Osvaldo. And so there is the arising of the body, there is arising of the world, and there is arising of the mind. This is how we refer to as existence and how we experience existence. We experience existence as a body mind that exists in an external world, and that is interacting with the external world in a dualistic way. There is a me, an organism, and that has a reality. There is a reality to this organism from the point of view of existence. And there is a reality to the world outside. So yes, the bird, the tree, the sunset, and all of that is a conceptual realm. Because from the perceptual realm, via the senses, we look at the tree, but there is no tree. There's just the perception. There is just the visual energetics. There is just the vibrational field of colors and shapes. And then the mental arises and says oak tree, pine tree, poplar tree, cedar tree. They arise simultaneously. And that is how we experience existence when we are not contemplating the truth. Now, in your question, you also ask, if existence was truly seen in a non-dualistic way, what would it look like? So for Brahman, for the self, there is no existence. Nothing stands out of Brahman. Nothing arises out of Brahman. Brahman is the one reality, knows itself as I, universal self. And Brahman's dreams, which arise out of Brahman, they are within Brahman. They don't arise out of Brahman. They're within Brahman. And Brahman is knowing itself and it's knowing its dreams. So there is a wakeful knowingness of yourself as the transparency of being that is unshakable in the presence of forms, in the presence of your dreams, or in the absence of your dreams. In other words, perceiving the world does not move you out of the self. You are the self, period, and everything is your very self. But this everything is different from the everything in ignorance, where there are separate things. We use the term everything in a different way than everything that refers to infinite things. The everything refers to the one non-thing, which is Brahma. And I'm afraid I've confused you in my answer. I don't know. The experience of existence from the non-dual point of view is the experience of peace, causeless peace, and unshakable and causeless peace and happiness. It is also the experience of transparency, of universal being, and clarity, and transparency. And there is no longer any existence. There is nothing that is arising out of Brahman. All is Brahman, all is the self.
Okay, Magdi, thank you. I'm better now.
Okay.
Somewhat is kind of confusing, but I'm thinking like the concept is better. Thank you.
Okay, Gabby, beautiful. Thank you for your question, Gabby. Osvaldo, you had sent a couple of notes. Osvaldo is watching on YouTube, and it's just Tara's passing me the notes. Osvaldo writes, yes, total silence, and yes, in the reality, nobody is experiencing anything. Thank you. Okay.
Hi, Magdi.
Yes, hello.
It's Anne. Can
Hello,
you hear
Anne.
me?
Yes, I hear you quite well, Anne.
Good. I'm not quite sure what I want to ask, but as you're speaking, there's just so many different things going on, and I'm not sure which one to go with. There's quite a lot of questions I could ask you tonight, but I'm just trying to choose which is probably the most important. I've been having quite a lot of whatever you would call it, clear seeing this week. Moments of just this, just maybe transparency. I don't really know what word to put to it. Seeing that there's no person, and I can't say that I'm the self because it feels more like nothing, like an absence, and I've heard you call it that sometimes. But what I'm noticing is that, you know, when you call it reality, that is reality, and this world and the person is the dream. But as this has been happening to me, usually when I'm driving along in the car, there's been a challenging of that because my belief system is so ingrained in me that I'm a person. And when I go to my experience, it seems real that I'm nothing, and it's quite easy to go there, but it seems so light and transparent that the density of the form sort of challenges it and says that that's more real. Mm-hmm. Like my beliefs are too ingrained in me that that there is yesterday and tomorrow, and so I'm kind of hitting that. Mm-hmm. That it seems like a wall almost, and then it just stops at that, really.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that's good. We can stay with that for now. So the yesterday and the tomorrow that seems so real, and we don't want to deny the reality. We don't want to come with another thought saying no, it's not real. We're going to stay with, okay, the tomorrow and the yesterday seem real. Mm. So it's a good place to start. Say, okay, that seems so real. So, but we take a look at now. Like, for example, if yesterday arises, it arises as an image, yes?
Yeah.
A thought or an image or...
Yeah, memory.
Yeah, memory, thought. Thought. You know, it's an image / thought / memory.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And it also arises sometimes. You know, it also arises as some sensation, some bodily sensation. For example, like if the thought of something, an image, thought of yesterday, you spoke a little harshly to somebody that maybe you were upset and you spoke harshly. Mm-hmm. So that past memory arises as a current thought, but also there may be some feeling, some bodily sensation, right?
Yeah.
So the past, our experience of the past is a current thought and a current feeling.
Yes.
But we never actually, outside of experiencing the current thought and the current feeling, we're not actually experiencing an actual past as some past. We're experiencing a current thought and a current feeling, which the mind also, there's a thought that arises, says that's the past.
Right.
And the thought that arises says that's the past. It's a current thought.
Mm-hmm.
So in fact, we never experience a past.
Oh, right, because it could be making it up.
Irrespective, even if it makes it up or it doesn't make it up, it's always, our experience is always a current thought, a current feeling. Mm. Making it up or not making it up, is the past true or not true, even if it's true or if it's not true, irrespective of that, keeping that aside, our experience is what I'm pointing to. Our experience is a current thought
Mm.
and a current feeling, right?
Yes.
There isn't an actual experience where we're not suddenly being teletransported in 10 years ago and then teletransported back to that's not what's happening. It's just
it's not actually happening. It's just a
Right.
thought and a feeling of
yes. And the thought,
it's not what's going on now.
right, it's what's going on now is just a current thought
Yeah.
that says you, Anne,
Mm.
yesterday did this and that and that and that.
Yeah.
Okay. And we say, yeah, I did that, right? Yeah, I did eat a mango. I did have cereal yesterday with cereal and banana and cranberries yesterday for breakfast.
Yes.
We say yes to that, right?
Yeah.
So we're saying yes to if a thought is arising, and the thought is saying, this is what you did, right? This is what you had for breakfast, and we say yes, right?
Yes.
Now, the question is, I know I'm moving away from your initial question, but I'll come back to your initial question. But let me, since I'm going with it now, let me just go on. There may be something connected there. The question is, does a thought know, or is it you that knows? What is it that is knowing? Is it you that is knowing, or is it the thought that is knowing?
I think that's where the confusion is.
Well, we're looking at the question right now.
Yeah.
What is it that is knowing? Is it the thought that is knowing, or is it I that is knowing?
I think that's where, if I'm really honest, I feel I'm believing my thoughts more.
But that's not the question.
Right.
The question is almost like a scientific question.
Okay.
The question is, what is it that knows? Is it I that knows the thought, or the thought that knows I?
I know the thought.
Now, could we say that I know the thought, and the thought knows 25% of me?
Yes.
Yes?
I think so. I don't know. I just said
I
that.
wasn't expecting
no,
that
it
answer.
doesn't, does it? It doesn't, no.
So, okay, all right. I invite you to consider that thought has zero knowingness of you.
Yes.
Thought, there is 100% of the knowingness belongs to you, and there is zero knowingness of the thought. The oak tree, for example, the oak tree does not know you. You know the oak tree. The oak tree is known, but the oak tree is not knowing.
Yeah.
That's an easy one, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Now let's imagine that we have now an oak tree that transforms itself into a thought. It's a magical oak tree that transforms itself into a thought. And suddenly I look at the oak tree, and the oak tree now is saying, you had cereal, you had the banana, cranberries, and cereal and milk, whatever, yesterday morning, right?
Yeah.
Now that oak tree suddenly became knowing.
And when you put it like that, that's very clear. Yeah.
A thought is a subtle form. The oak tree is a gross form, but they're both forms. Forms are known, they are not knowing.
Yeah, that's very good.
Okay. If we just stay with that and really contemplate that, then the next question would be, if thought is zero knowing, and I am 100% knowing of the thought, then I cannot then I would rely at 0% onto the content of the thought. 0%.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that makes it very clear. That's where the confusion's coming in. Because I'm believing my thoughts.
Thoughts are not knowing.
Mm.
Yeah. It is a very dramatic statement for the mind to hear that.
Mm.
It's the mind just will not want to hear that. But I'm not talking to the mind. I'm talking to the wisdom of the self.
Mm.
And the wisdom of the self is not the mind.
Mm.
What is understanding that is not the mind. The mind is going to be affected by your understanding. It will no longer have that same power, especially if you visit what I just said quite a few times and you contemplate what I said a few times. The mind is wounded. There's an arrow that just hit that mind now. Like, what? Because the reasoning that we're just going through right now is absolute.
Yes. Yeah. It's just that there's a voice or pictures going on, and I'm believing that that's part of me, but actually it could be anyone saying those things, showing me those pictures, but it's not me.
And I'm interrupting you, so I interrupt you. There are no parts to you.
Exactly, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There are
but
no
I
parts.
was believing that...
There are no parts.
Yeah.
There are no parts to I.
Yeah. The thoughts and the pictures and everything are nothing to do with me.
A picture is like when you look at a cloud, okay, and you see a cloud that looks like a dragon, that's a picture, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what? The next minute you look up and it's a rose.
Yeah.
A mirror reflects whatever image. It reflects an image of a fire, it reflects the image of a lake. Nothing. The images and the mirror, the images don't do anything to the mirror. They don't affect the mirror. The mirror is not in any way defined by the images. It remains the mirror. Now, having said...
So is it like... what was I going to say? So I'm having these, probably the clearest seeing I've had this week. But then the mind's coming in really strongly and saying, yeah, but, you know, that's all a bit of a fantasy and it's all very nice, it's all very peaceful and it's all very quiet. But really, you're just a person because, look, you're driving around in a car and I'm listening to that.
Okay, let's say that right now you're driving in a car, okay?
Yeah.
So you are driving, right? What is your experience? Is your experience that you are driving in the car? What is your experience? I just want to explore that. I'm not challenging anything. I just want to explore that with you. Here we are now. We're in the car. We're driving. All right. Let's say that the thought that I am driving is absent, which is possible, right?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
It's absent. So when the thought I am driving is absent, are you driving?
No. Well, when I'm driving, that's when I ask myself, what's the reality of my experience? And that's when the sort of edges of the body disappear somewhat. Right. But I can still feel myself touching the wheel, but unless I think I'm touching the wheel as a thought, then it's just...
Right. So in the absence of the thought I am touching the wheel, in the absence of the thought I'm driving, there is silence. But there is a sensation. There is a sensation.
Yes.
There is a sensation. Okay.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
let's do the sensation right now. Let's just put your hands like as if you're holding the steering wheel. Let's go to that sensation.
Yeah.
And let's introduce the thought, I am holding the steering wheel, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's say that this thought, I am holding the steering wheel, is on board. So the experience is, I am holding the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Now, let's remove that thought. Let's say the thought is absent, which is possible, right?
Yes.
So what happened now? The thought that I'm holding the steering wheel is absent.
Well, the steering wheel disappears.
There is silence. There is silence.
Yeah.
So the point that I'm trying to invite is that our experience is always that of complete silence and stillness. Then thought arises and says, blah, 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 whatever it says. It says, the first thing it says, which we don't hear, is, you're a woman, you're a person. You are inside a car. Immediately, it's a quick download. It's like, pow, I am a person. But you don't even see that. But the next thing that you see is, I am driving a car. But you haven't seen the original sin. The original sin is, I'm a person. And we don't see that. That's the hum. There is a hum. The hum of ignorance is, I am the person. But next, on top of that, is, I am driving the car. I am holding the steering wheel. I am, feeling like I'm going somewhere. Or I am late. I am, all the download of the thoughts. But there is the initial I thought.
Yeah, there is, because when I'm exploring, and I go back and back, it's that is the block. That there's some sort of hum. Even when I'm not driving the car, there's something there that's still form, and it feels like I can't go any further with that.
Well, there is the metaphor of deep sleep. In the metaphor of deep sleep, there is silence. But the separate self, the me, the hum, is like there is still the separate self is still in the room, but is sleeping. It's not gone. It hasn't dissolved. It's there in the room, but it's sleeping. The hum of separation, the I thought, is that separate self that is always around. But it is only around as the initial I thought. When you ask yourself, what am I truly? Am I something that appears, or am I that to which everything appears, but that does not appear? Am I the reality, the invisible, infinite, formless reality, or am I something that appears? If I am something that appears, I'm not going to argue with that. If I am something that appears, then the question is, what is it that's perceiving it? Obviously, I am perceiving it because I am saying, I am making the statement, I am something that appears. If I am making that statement, that means I am perceiving that I am something that appears, which leads me to the question, what is it that is perceiving it? So I am something that appears, and simultaneously I am that perceives it.
Yeah, I'm just gone blank now.
Right. It's good. So we explored a little bit the thought that comes that says, I'm a person, I am driving the car, I am holding the steering wheel, the thoughts, but there's also the sensation, the feeling, like I feel like I'm in this car, I am inside this car. So there is a feeling. That feeling that says I'm sitting on the couch, that feeling. that feeling is not a substantial proof that you are sitting on the couch.
It's not so much the feelings of sitting on the couch or the steering wheel that seems to be the problem, because if I go to them, even they can disappear. But it's something else. It's like, I've heard some people say that, you know, a contraction, it's very subtle.
Okay, well, let's go to it. If there is a subtle contraction, let's go to it. Go there. Go there and see what you find. Go there and, you know, be watchful not to label it, not to categorize it. Just go there with your complete being. Go there and see what you find. What do you find? Go there. If you don't go there, it's just gonna remain in the behind the curtain there, sort of bugging you. You know, yeah. Go there. Go to it. If speaking of some contraction, it must be somewhere.
Yeah.
Wherever it is, it's somewhere that you're aware of because you're speaking of it. You just mentioned it. So if you're speaking of it, then there is you have some sense of where it is and what it is. Go there. And if you can go there now, go there. Open it up. Invite it. Okay, let's go there. Let's come out from the shadow. Come in the sunlight. Come, you know, you're welcome. We have no issue with. We have no issue. Period. It's welcome. We're welcoming, right? We're welcoming. So we're interested in clarity. We're interested in truth. So bring all the witnesses up. You know, bring them. Let's hear them. Let's get to know them. Right?
Yes.
So invite it. Yeah, remain the invitation open. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, Anne.
Thank you very much. That's really useful. Thank you so much.
Sure, very lovely. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, Sanyong. So, Sanyong, let me read what you wrote. Hi, Magdi. I realize that there are many questions and not much time left. It's okay. So you do not have to answer to these questions today, but here you go, perhaps for future discussion. 1. When I go deep into inquiry, sometimes a strong urge to cough from deep down arises, and then the cough seems to eventually disrupt the inquiry. I am curious about this and wonder if you have anything to share about this. Yes, Sanyong. So when the inquiry into what is my reality, what is it that is real? Is Sanyong real? Are the images real? Is it the body that's constantly changing? Is that what's real? The body that the 2-year-old Sanyong and the 20-year-old Sanyong, totally different bodies. What is it that's when you start to contemplate, what is it that's real? This separate self that doesn't want to be discovered as being the charlatan, doesn't want to be discovered to be the fake self, will develop some strategies to disrupt your inquiries. One of the ways in which it will disrupt your inquiry is by going into the body, making the body sick, or making the body, in your case you mentioned coughing or some allergy or a headache, etc. It will pass. Don't, well, I should have started by saying that, okay, I don't know if there is any actual condition to the body, some allergy maybe, or there may be something of that nature. But I am suspicious, because you are talking about this sort of reaction occurring with your inquiry. So there is an association between your inquiry and that bodily reaction. So this is why I'm sharing with you strictly a non-medical response. There may be a medical aspect to that, but I doubt it. So continuing with what I was saying, that I would give the body, drink maybe some fluids, maybe you want to take a lozenge, suck on a lozenge or something like that. See if you can change your inquiry. Maybe you want to go for a walk and do your inquiry during a walk, or try to bring some change to the form or the conditions under which you're doing your inquiry, if possible. But it will pass. So this sort of reaction from the body, thank goodness it's only a cough. Sometimes it's more severe than that. It will pass. Maybe a little bit of yoga, or some breathing, maybe take a few minutes to do some breathing relaxation yogas may help. Second, you say, last time you mentioned discrimination as one of the conditions of awakening. Yes, the viveka. There are times when I have strong pressure in my head, when I am being aware of being aware. That's not good. You don't want to have a strong pressure in your head. So don't continue with that. Huh? Don't do this exercise of, don't do this contemplation if it's giving you a strong pressure in your head. Then I realize that I am seeking something internally, and then seeking drops and discrimination disappears. I realize that I'm seeking something internally. Okay, you realize that you're seeking, and then the seeking drops. Okay, because you realize that you're seeking and you relax the seeking. Okay, but I don't understand, and the discrimination disappears. But it's okay. Let me continue what you say. And I feel like I am no longer being aware of being aware, but things get light and peaceful. Okay, Sun Young, as long as things are getting light and peaceful, that's good. Don't worry about whether you're doing things right or wrong, whether it doesn't feel like you're being aware of being aware. Don't worry about that. As long as things are getting light and peaceful, that's good. Okay, just continue in that direction, in the direction where things get light and peaceful. Okay, there is no more discrimination, and quite ordinary but light and peaceful. Very good. So the discrimination, whatever it is, has served its purpose, irrespective if it was discrimination or none. It serves its purpose because the end result is that you are light and peaceful. The entire contemplation is about peace and happiness. Yes? It is not about anything else. you go to the doctor, and it's not about all the operations and all the medication. It is about feeling good, about the toothache ending, about the unhappiness ending. It is about the thorn being removed, and you're feeling light and happy and peaceful. So that is good. Whatever you're doing that is resulting in that is good. Don't worry about being aware of being aware or not being aware of not being aware. Don't forget about it. But definitely do not do anything that gives you a very high pressure in your head, okay? That you can, when you feel the pressure, just stop it, okay? Stop it. Go have a drink of water, have a cup of tea, go for a walk, whatever, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, Sanyong. Well, okay, everybody, thank you very much. Very lovely to be with you, and we will see you again. Thank you for your very lovely questions and your lovely, lovely company and friendship. Namaste all. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you. Love you all. You're all beautiful.
Thank you, Magdi.
Beautiful. Okay.